is to remember that every person in this room and every person in our lives has been a combination of strength and struggle. And what we're here to learn tonight is the lesson of people who've walked the road that the St. Francis Center works on every day, that we know that many of you are engaged in. And we are just so privileged to hear from people who have walked that road and are willing to tell us their story. This is how we change people. This is how we change our minds. This is how we change the world, is by sharing and listening to each other. So thank you all for being here tonight. I feel privileged to be with you. I'm going to do a quick introduction for everyone. First, to my right, we have Dominic McGee, who's being here with us tonight, and a quote that Dominic gave us in our interviews with him. He said, "Being seen, supported, and believed in changed everything." Dominic's path to stability began 12 years ago when he met Elizabeth, our outreach manager at St. Francis Center. At the time, he was navigating the aftermath of a childhood marked by relentless trauma. Dominic's life was instability, fear, and invisibility. From age 7 to 18, Dominic was in the child welfare system, enduring physical and emotional abuse from foster families who were supposed to protect him. He was hospitalized multiple times, often too afraid to speak up about what was happening, even if his medical needs were neglected. His visual impairment caused by an optic nerve damage was untreated for several years. But throughout the process, Dominic earned a degree in criminal justice while unhoused, refused to step down despite the pressure from the services who were supporting him, has worked full-time in probation for over 3 years, has volunteered for 15 months, and helped pass legislation to protect foster youth from identity theft. He's a member of the National Honor Society and the National Society of Leadership and Success. Today, Dominic stands not just as a survivor, but as a leader and advocate. On the far left of the stage for you is Jamie Harden. And a quote that Jamie gave us is, "I made a decision that day by the river, and it saved my life." Jamie's journey is one of resilience, transformation, and reclaiming her life after years of trauma and homelessness. Originally from Oklahoma, she came to Denver in 2019 to support her son's mental health and his request to find his dad. After losing stable housing, she experienced deep loneliness, her primary trigger, and fell into dangerous situations. Her turning point came in 2025 when she met Tanner and Angel from St. Francis Center's outreach team by the river. Their compassion and consistency helped her begin a path to healing. Within weeks, Jamie entered detox, inpatient care, and sober living. She secured employment and was recently promoted to general manager at a local gas station. Now, 6 months sober, the longest she's been since age 11. Jamie's reconnected with her family and her grandchildren. She was present for the birth of her grandbaby and is embracing her role as a grandmother, offering love and guidance to her children. Jamie's story is a testament to the power of sacred companionship, personal courage, and the possibility of renewal. Our last guest to introduce is Adrianna Madrill. And this, give it up. The quote that Adrianna provided us is, "Home means I choose what I allow. has been a series of uphill battles and courageous climbs. What brings her strength today? Her cat, her 3 children, ages 11, 2, and 1, and honey in her tea. But behind that sweetness is a story of grit and transformation. Adrianna was homeless for nearly 8 months, staying with her grandfather until he passed away in November. Grief knocked her down again. She remembers lying on the kitchen floor of the furnished apartment, unable to move. Adrianna, you have to get up, she told herself, and she did. She once lived in a trailer with no heat during a brutal winter, pregnant and trying to care for her daughter. Her truck broke down near Arapahoe and I-25, and she found herself stranded, alone, pregnant, and unsure how to move forward. That's when she met Elizabeth, a case manager at St. Francis Center, who helped her get into a hotel at Town Place Suites. I was blessed that someone took a chance on me, Adrianna says. You're grown, we can do the right thing. She found community in Cathedral Square and began reconnecting with herself. Adrianna has a job as a personal care provider and now attends peer coaching, sobriety groups, and dreams of becoming a certified peer support coach. Her sobriety date, October 17. Congratulations. That date is shared with her baby's father and is a new chapter for all of them. Thank you all for being here. So I have a series of questions, and the panel will be responding. We're going to start with Dominic.
Okay, it's on.
So Dominic, your journey began in a place many of us can't imagine. Can you take us back to the time before you connected with St. Francis Center?
So I was actually in the foster care system from, it would technically be 7 to 18, but 7 to 21 because the judge made my case managers at the time open my case back up because she didn't feel like they provided significant services. And so they actually had to give me permission to be in Urban Peak. I left my last foster home. It was kind of like a sinker's room situation. There was a lot of abuse and medical neglect going on. And so, honestly, I felt like had I not left that situation, I probably wouldn't be sitting here on this panel today. Because the medical circumstances could have caused death, to just put it quite frank. And so I ended up being in Urban Peak on one of their housing programs and then getting the family unification voucher. Everything was fine up until I lost that apartment. And then there were periods of housing instability and homelessness. Elizabeth actually helped me get into, I believe, the Columbine Towers first. And then we started working on the other housing, and Elizabeth ended up helping me get into the project-based voucher through DHA. So that was what my time was like before connecting with St. Francis. I had actually slept in my storage one night and ended up going to Denver Health, and the nurse's assistant asked me if I had slept outside and said, I can't let you leave the hospital because your body temperature is too low. So.
It's hard to hear.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Hard to talk about, it's okay.
Thank you for sharing that. You said that maybe that medical person and Elizabeth, that being seen and supported and believed changed everything?
I would even say not just being believed in, but being believed, period. Because I felt like a big part of the issue was not being believed, like this is a person that's just making this up. And so when I met Elizabeth, I definitely could tell Elizabeth believed in me. I remember Elizabeth actually telling me, I thank you for trusting me, for telling me this. So I think Elizabeth definitely, like, knowing that somebody cared, knowing that somebody seen, but not even just being believed in, but being believed, like what I was saying was the truth, period, is what definitely helped me, just being believed out of anything else.
That's awesome. We're gonna have Elizabeth come out here in just a second. But the story from there, while you were unhoused, you earned your degree, and now you're a homeowner. Can you tell us a little bit more about what's happened since?
So, yeah, getting my associate's degree, it was kind of housing instability. One moment I felt like I had housing, other moment I didn't have housing. Then housing is there, and then it's not. And then you have to wait and play the waiting game. I honestly felt like, so I wasn't one of the people that looked homeless, whatever that means, smelled homeless, whatever that means, acted homeless, whatever that means. So I think one of the things I realized was that everybody's situation is different. And so I felt like I was being judged. Maybe people were not, but because of how I felt at that time, I said that I was homeless and said that other people could see it despite me not looking or smelling or whatever that means. And so, yeah, I ended up having a brain surgery, retinal reattachment during the time that I also was in the process of getting this associate's. I did end up getting that associate's, and then I transferred to MSU Denver and got my bachelor's of science in criminal justice. Awesome. Thank you. Then while getting my degree, I was housed the entire time getting my degree at MSU Denver. Unfortunately, I didn't get to walk because of COVID. But I still got that degree. And then now, after not having the PBV voucher anymore from Section 8, I'm now a homeowner. So, my plan is definitely to get a day job, because I'm working at FedEx right now, but I am hoping to find something in my field of criminal justice. I was a former probation officer, but I may go back to get my master's and definitely plan on hopefully getting a bigger house, but I'm also working on a book to try to get published and put out at some point in time.
Next, we're going to move to Jamie. And Jamie, your quote at the reception about the river was incredible. And I just wonder if you could take us back to that moment. Back to the river. To the river?
Not only was that day at the river was different. I say everybody has to hit the rock bottom. I think I went past that. Crack. Sorry.
Okay. Maybe in between.
It was more than just the find anybody. And I was just drinking and trying to use drugs, and I couldn't figure that out either, and I was crazy. All these years, figure out how to use drugs one day. So it was a lot in my favor. I had to get mad, got really mad, and then I reached out to St. Francis. I was under the impression that they were off-duty cops. So I was like, okay, so me being a 2-time felon and 9-time convictions, I was like, I didn't care if I was going to prison for the rest of my life. And at least knew that I'd be alive. And I made that choice. If I'm going to prison, let's go. I'm done, so here's my drugs. You can't have my bottle yet. I finished that first. But I was like, here's my drugs, and hold my hand and help me, because I'm ready for a change. And it's full force that day on the river.
I'm thinking about you being alone, and the theme of loneliness is certainly, I think, a thread across a lot of the stories that we hear. And
There's a difference, in between feeling alone and being lonely. It's a big difference. Be alone or feel alone in this room full of hundreds of people. And that's where I was. I was alone.
so that's really profound. We could all feel alone in this room and feel like, well, maybe nobody understands me, or I don't belong here. What is it that touched you that day, or helped you that day? If you know, maybe it was the universe, or maybe it was.
It was the universe that I couldn't find a utensil to do this. I couldn't find a paraphernalia to do that. I couldn't find a person like, hey, I need you to do something. I was seriously alone. And in all my years of being homeless and like she said, a drug addict since I was 11, I've never, like you said, I didn't look the part. For some reason that day I did. Like I couldn't get anybody to buy me coffee. And I always thought that I never looked homeless or smelled homeless or anything. But evidently that day I did. And people smirked, talked about me, and they judged me. And for the first time they seemed to judge me, I didn't want it. That's what I didn't want to be judged. I knew that I was better than where I was. Because I've been there before, I've had it all, and I just lost my way. I didn't know where I was going to come back from. For me not to know where I was, to know where I was going to go to. I didn't have a purpose. Even though I was a mother, grandmother of one at that time, I still didn't have a purpose. There was nothing that was keeping me from trying to commit suicide for the 5th time. And I did, even then. In the living room of my son's house. It's very selfish. But even then, it wasn't enough for me. That was last October. It was a year this month that I committed suicide for the last time. And that was, it will be the last time. It was. Even me doing that selfish act then, it was still 6 months before I decided to put the drugs in the bottle down. It was still 6 months before I felt so alone enough to where I was like, I can't. There was no more selfish, coward acts in me to do. So, when suicide, I was not. So it was more of I'll go to prison for the rest of my life just to have.
It's been a process.
Yeah.
And there's been some things that you've clung to make it through that process.
My family.
Your family. And
Yes.
is there, what would you say? Every single person in this room feels that loneliness and maybe didn't have everything piled on like you did. What would you say to another person to help walk through that road to come back?
Not everybody is the same. So just pick some eyes that focuses on you. I had a couple of them never gave up on me. And just confide into them. And this is crazy too, because I've been having battles with the Lord above also, but He won't steer you wrong. So you open your mouth, He'll put somebody in your place. So,
Amen. Adrianna. The quote that you gave us is, "Home means I choose what I allow in my life." That speaks to strength. And can you help us understand what you allow in your life?
Okay, so I went from being in a very, very, very toxic relationship with my family, with my kids' dad. It got so bad to the point where I couldn't take it anymore, you know, and I left without no questions asked. I put what I could fit in my truck and left. And then at the end of the day, really what it came down to for me was, as soon as I got my apartment, actually the hotel, I was in the hotel first before I got my apartment, was I don't have to let people mentally abuse me or physically abuse me or make me feel like I didn't have a voice of my own, that I could say if I felt that I didn't like something or if I did like something. I was able to speak for myself and feel my own feelings for the first time in my whole life, you know, and so to be able to close the doors and be like, you know what, right now I need to focus on me so that I can be okay with my kids, or for me so that I can be okay in general, because right now I'm not okay. I could shut my doors and do whatever it had to be, whatever had to be done in order for that to happen, you know? And so yeah, that was the biggest thing.
And you just celebrated a year housed at Cathedral Apartments with us. What does that milestone feel like to you? You've had a whole year of stability.
Okay, stay like now I'm mentally stable. I'm not gonna say all, but I'm able to be okay, you know, without having to worry about the everyday worries of being out there like on the streets, you know. And I never really was able to say it. Like 3 years ago, for instance, like I wasn't able to say it, like, oh, I didn't have to understand somebody else's situation the way that I am now. I never thought that the things that happened would have happened, you know, and just to know like it could happen to anybody, you know, it could be anybody, and it happens so quick, you know, and it's such a blessing to know, or to be able to be a part of all of this, because I didn't think it was good to fit it, to be able to know that there's obviously like a support system that you can fall onto, you know. For me, it was the day center at first, for those first couple weeks, like, and just to know like if whoever is in that situation, it happens, like there's a whole community to fall onto, you know. Actually, it was 2 weeks after I moved into my apartment. That's when my grandpa had passed away, and a series of events happened, and my kids got taken from me. My baby's dad had left me, and I was just laying on my kitchen floor. And when my grandpa died, he was my best friend, and because he truly like believed in me, and like was there, you know. And when he passed away, it was really hard. I laid on that floor, and I'm pretty sure about 2 or 3 days I didn't get up. I didn't eat. I didn't sleep. I just laid there, just staring at the ceiling. Finally, I was like, Adrianna, you have to get up. Like, nobody's gonna force you to get up. Like, you have, like, other than myself, you know. And that's when it clicked in my head that, you know, nobody could treat me bad anymore. Like, it's up to now. I'm the only person that I can love that can treat me bad because I have one, you know, and I have a home, you know, and to be able to. I can allow, like I said, I can allow what I allow. I'm the only person that can make that decision for me. You know? And so yeah, I had to get up, and I started talking to Ashley. And something changed, I guess, because I'm better now. So.
Sharing your stories with us and helping us to understand your walk that you've taken. I want to say thank you to Elizabeth and Ashley, who are standing over there. If you can just move this direction a little bit, we can wave at you. Is the power to say yes when someone reaches out to you. That's a power. And the power to know that we can be politely and persistently relentless in asking if people want to walk this path with us. That is the balance that we make at the St. Francis Center for there. Thank you. And so we just thank you for listening, and we thank you for sharing and for blessing us with your story.
What I meant to say was, we're back.
Praise God.
We just heard some amazing stories, some amazing testimonies. And right after we get through singing, okay. Right after we get through singing, you have an opportunity to do something about that. The things that you hear, the things that you saw, the things that you experienced, what you felt in your heart today, you have an opportunity to do something about them. and to change somebody's life. So, first of all, I want to say, please give generously. We really need you. Oh my gosh. But second, I want to say,